Ms. Boebert for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you to the witnesses who showed up. I would have loved to have seen some members from the Biden administration, from the executive here today to speak on this. But today, the House Budget Committee will be playing along with Speaker Pelosi's con game of titling a bill something magnificent and then loading it with a bunch of liberal wish list items and then claiming success on that legislation. And, you know, it'd probably actually be a yes vote on a lot more legislation that we see in the House of Representatives if the language in the bill actually matched the title. It has been just over a year since Joe Biden signed the $2 trillion so-called American Rescue Plan into law that incentivizes lockdowns, paid workers to stay home, gave stimulus checks to government employees who are at no risk of losing their jobs, and really fueled the fire of inflation, this crisis that American families are now paying the price for. American families are paying the price for bad policy. And this chart that I have here, it shows exactly what that bill did for the cost of goods and services. You see that there? You cannot force millions of Americans out of the workforce and then allow them to go back to work and call that job creation. You cannot treat the American people like your own personal slush fund. It's been said before, but one day you'll run out of other people's money to spend. Since the passage of this blue state bailout, the Biden White House has claimed that, quote, the economy is in a better place than it has been historically. Well, I'm curious. Is it the highest inflation of my lifetime, the highest gas prices in American history, or a shrinking GDP that would cause Jen Psaki's replacement to make such an outrageous claim? Under President Trump, which I'd like to pause and just say happy birthday to my all-time favorite president, but gas prices were less than half of what they are today. GDP had positive growth, and moms and dad had formula to feed their babies. I miss, and the American people miss, the Trump economy. Not only was the so-called American Rescue Plan entirely unnecessary, but it was riddled with swampy deals for Biden's political allies in blue states and did not include common sense protections to mitigate fraud. Less than 9% of this $2 trillion sham went to anything COVID related. Now, the average American family is paying the price for these failed policies, and that price is $5,200 per year. Heck, if you're a senior living on fixed income, Joe Biden's economy, it's a death sentence. And Mr. Moore, I have a question for you, if you don't mind, with just a brief answer. If you were advising Joe Biden on how to make our economy as weak as possible, what would you tell him to change?
Wait, I'm sorry, to make it as strong as possible?
As weak. If you were advising him, make America's economy weak, what would you have him change?
Well, I do pretty much what we've done. I mean, this idea that somehow we're in a recovery right now, I just looked at the numbers, the latest numbers for the GDP forecast for the second quarter. Those are 0.9%. We had negative 1.5% in the first quarter. So if you put those numbers together, for the first half of 2021, we've had negative growth. What recovery are you all talking about? There is no recovery in the economy. We're negative. We're negative for the first half of the year after spending $1.9 trillion.
Yes, Mr. Moore, thank you so much for laying that out. I would love to give a copy of Trumponomics to everyone here on the Budget Committee. I think that would be something that everyone would
I've got
really
copies
benefit.
Available.
There you go. We'll get you some signed copies over there. Mr. Mayor Vince Williams, can you please tell me what bird sanctuaries, a beachside 800-room luxury hotel, pickleball courts, ski resorts, and Halloween festivals have in common?
I have no idea. I don't have either of those in my city.
Well, your city is paying for them, Mr. Williams. Mayor Williams, each of these non-COVID health-related projects was paid for by state and local governments with COVID-19 aid. Washington politicians are addicted to spending. We don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. And this addiction like the American Rescue Plan is causing, is similar to Parmesan cheese and Hunter Biden. Thanks, and I yield back.
Gentlewoman's time has expired, and now